My brothers and sisters in humanity, I welcome all of you with Islamic greetings. Assalamu alaikum. I'm on live again, and today I will primarily talk about English, IELTS, and other things. Few hours back, I saw one of my staff replying a text sent by one curious student. And the student said, "Sir, I have got 1.5 months and I will study 5, 6, 7 or 8 hours per day. Now, will I be able to get 6.5 in 1.5 months?" Well, I didn't give any reply, but I told my staff, yes, the candidate can improve his or her score to 1 point to 2 points if they practice 400 hours. Gentlemen and gentlewomen, currently who you are hearing, if you think that your current level is 3.5 or 4.5 or 4 and you want to up your score to 6 or 6.5, alhamdulillah, it's a very ambitious goal, and surely you can have a goal which is very ambitious, no problem with it. But if you want to up your score by 1 point, you need to spend 200 guided learning hours. You need to spend 200 hours, learning English in a guided approach. I repeat, if you want to improve your score by 1 point, suppose your current score is 5 and you want to up your score to 6, you need to spend 200 guided hours learning English or learning any language. Since we all are interested in English, or most of my audiences are interested in English, I will mostly talk about English and IELTS. So the message I have already delivered is, if you want to improve your English score by 1 point, band 5 to band 6 or band 6 to band 7, you need to spend 200 hours, guided practice hours. Now, if your current level is 4 and you want to get 6.5, then how many hours do you need to practice? I would say almost 500 hours. And now, how will you get that 500 hours? Well, my suggestion is spend 4 to 5 to 6 months, up to 6 months learning English or with your IELTS preparation. 6 months equals to 180 days. Every month consists of around 30 days, and 6 months times 30 days equals to 180 days, or for example 6.5 months, 200 days. If you practice 5 hours a day, 200 days times 500, 200 days times 5 hours roughly equals to 1000 hours. And if you practice 1000 hours, we can expect that you can improve your score by 4.5 to almost 5. Now if your current level is 2.5, you can expect to get 7.5, or if your current level is 3.5 or something like that, you can expect to get 7 or 7 point something like that. Now, some conditions apply. What are those conditions? If you are a beginner, if you have just started learning a new language, and it often happens that you one day study really hard, the very second day you don't study, or the very third day you don't study. If you do that, you're not going to improve very fast, because initially at the starting of any language learning, you need to be very consistent. You need to practice consistently. If you practice today, you need to practice tomorrow as well, the day after tomorrow. And you might think, okay, I will practice 3 days, then 2 days I will skip, another day I will start. No, this will not help properly, or this will not help a lot. If you want to get maximum help, and if you want to finish your journey quickly, or if you want to learn a new language really quickly, you need to practice consistently. One day you practice, second day you don't practice, it will not work. You need to practice every day initially. It is similar to a plant that has been planted recently. If a small plant has been planted recently, well, it is very vulnerable. It is not very strong. The roots are not strong. It has just germinated. Now, if the plant is 2 years, 5 years, 10 years old, it is very strong. It has grown into a big tree, and that tree will even survive sometimes the toughest winds, maybe storms or tornadoes. Probably the tree would survive. But if you are a beginner, if you have just started your IELTS practice, you cannot stop 1 day or 2 days or 1 week. You need to be very consistent with your practice. The first message has been delivered, and it is, if you want to improve your English by 1 point, you need to spend 200 guided hours learning it. Again, I repeat, if you want to improve your English, suppose your current band is 5, you want to improve it to 6 or 7, then if you want to improve by 1 point, 200 hours, 2 points, 400 hours. Okay, the message has been delivered. Now, candidates often ask me, sir, how will I practice? Here, well, a variety of tips are given, a lot of suggestions are available online. In my class at 12 p.m. today, one student said, sir, you are teaching a lot of passages. I'm not sure how will I progress or what shall I do. Well, I said that initially what I am doing is I'm teaching you the basic sentence structures. Okay. Now, do you need the basic sentence structures? Sometimes some students do not need. You don't need basic sentence structures, but if you are a beginner, if you do not understand the passages you read, you need the basic sentence structures. If somebody teaches you, these are the sentence structures, this is the principal clause, this is the subordinate clause, the main part of a sentence is subject and verb, things become easier for you, or things will become easier for you, undoubtedly. But there are other approaches to learning English, and there are other approaches to, well, IELTS, I would say. And what are the other approaches? If you spend 1 year, 2 years, or maybe more than that, and if you spend the whole time reading passages, newspapers, English stories, whatever, maybe English novels and books, you don't need the grammar, because as you have read tons of things, many pages, books after books, passages after passages, English grammar has become part of your deep memory. The structures are subconsciously part of your brain. They have become embedded in your brain. The structures are now in your brain. And how did you learn the structures? Not by consciously learning the structures. Subconsciously you have learned the structures or mastered the structures. But if you do not have 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years, or even 10 years to learn English, you have generally students come to coaching center with 4 months or sometimes 6 months or maybe 7 months or something like that. If they are weak, they can keep 8 months or 1 year probably. This is generally what a student does. They keep 7 months, 8 months, 5 months, 4 months or something like that. Now, if you don't have a lot of time and your problem is you don't have a lot of basic, that means your basic is not strong, it is very weak, you don't understand the sentences you read. When you hear any native speaker, you don't understand the accent, what they say, and you have a lot of problems. You have problems understanding listening, okay, comprehending passages, and you can't write anything. So you have got a lot of problems. And how will you proceed on, and how will you proceed, and how will you approach learning a new language? Here, my suggestion is not very different from what is typically said to a second language learner. And my suggestion is you focus on 2 modules. One is listening, another is reading. If you focus on these 2 modules, automatically the other 2 modules will improve. Sir, you often say to read 5 hours, 6 hours a day. What shall I read? Well, now in the age of digital communication, age of AI, artificial intelligence, DeepSeek and ChatGPT, you have got ample opportunities, and you have got a lot of access, very easy access to modern sources, very authentic sources. Today I demonstrated it to my students. I told them, if you do not understand the passages you are reading, sometimes don't read the passages you don't understand at all. Rather do something else. Well, what is called guided learning? Guided learning is step-by-step learning. If you are a beginner, start from the basic things. If you have reached intermediate level, read the books and the text suitable for an intermediate candidate. And if you have progress to the advanced stage, practice the advanced things, advanced probably reading passages and other modules. So, sir, where you were? I was telling you to focus on reading and listening. Now the question arises generally, sir, what shall I read? Shall I only read or shall I understand? Will I read words, word after another, word after word, understanding the grammar part, sentence structure part, or will I just keep reading? I would say you can do both. Since you don't have a lot of time, like 5 years, 4 years, or 10 years, you have only 1 year, less than 1 year, 6 months, 5 months, or something like that. You read, well, one passage many times. At the same time, you try to understand what the sentence structures are, what is the main subject, main verb, the main meaning, well, how sentences have been expanded, linked, sentences have been linked with another sentence, what cohesive devices have been used, what are the functions of these cohesive devices, and others. For example, I can give you one example. It is when Sandy or when Mithila goes to college, she takes an umbrella. This sentence has got two parts. One part is when Mithila goes to college. Second part is she takes an umbrella. Which is the main part? It has got two clauses. One is the principal clause, another is the subordinate clause. Now, you need to understand that the principal clause is the main clause, not the subordinate clause. And in the principal clause, your main focus is to identify the main subject and the main verb, then other parts of the sentence. If you can identify the main subject, the main verb, the meaning becomes easier for you to understand. Well, you also need to understand why although is used and why and is used, where but is used, where whose is used. These conjunctions are very helpful. They will help you not only with your reading, but also with your writing as well as speaking. Actually, dear listeners, language skills often overlap. Think about or take the case of 7th month speech of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. That speech was speaking for him, and for the audiences, it was listening. Children these days, or students these days, read that speech. So it's reading for them. And when teachers ask them to write it, it becomes writing. So one thing in another sense, four things together, including it. Someone speaks, we listen. So someone's speaking is our listenings. When the same speech is written, when we read it, it becomes reading. When somebody writes it, it becomes write it. So one skill equals 4 skills. Language skills often overlap. If you are good at reading, you're simultaneously good at writing, speaking. Well, listening is a different skill. You need to be able to understand what the native speakers say, and for that reason, you need to listen a lot, and you need to listen to the native speakers a lot. Well, what shall you read? Read whatever you love, whatever you like. If you read Cambridge passages, read them. And here I would say start from the easy passages, passage 1s, then move to passage 2s, and after that passage 3s. Some passage 1s might seem difficult. Skip them. Usually passage 1s are easy. Sir, my problem is I do not understand even passage 1s. Reading passage 1s. What shall I do? Well, then you can read newspapers, foreign newspapers especially, maybe the BBC or the Guardian or something like that, or CNN. Well, if you read foreign newspapers, there is a problem, and it is that you can become brainwashed by them. Foreign newspapers have specific purposes, they have got specific goals, and it is to champion Western values, liberal democratic values, and instill that values into you. So you be careful, or you should remain careful when you read foreign newspapers, because the newspapers have specific agenda, okay, and you need to understand what the agenda are, and you don't want to be bombarded by and influenced by their agenda. So was what I was telling you. Read passages, newspapers, or whatever you love. Today, I showed my students, if you do not understand tough passages, you can ask ChatGPT to give you a story of a thirsty crow. Okay, if you ask ChatGPT, hey, write me the story of a thirsty crow, well, within seconds, the story will pop up in front of your screen. You can read it. If the story seems very easy for you to understand, you ask ChatGPT, hey, give me a tougher version, a detailed version and a tougher version. tougher version will pop up. You read it and you will understand. Some unknown words will be there and you can read them. You can read the story a couple of times. The unknown words will automatically be known due to the contextual understanding. Okay, this is how you progress. You start with a easy story and then you move on to a difficult story. Well, you can tell ChatGPT to give you 40-50 stories and you read them again and again, many times. Your understanding and your comprehension skills will improve. Undoubtedly, once your comprehension skills with easy reading has improved, you can now move to IELTS reading passages, maybe passage 1. And if you are a student in my coaching center, I will teach you step by step how to understand the sentence, what the sentence structures are, and blah, 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 blah. So it will be better to take help from a teacher, maybe from me or maybe from another teacher you love. If they want to teach you sentence structures, alhamdulillah, is good. And if you're a beginner, you should go to a coaching center, especially under the supervision of a qualified teacher. You can progress quickly. It's better for you. That's what I want to tell you. And it is that you start with easy materials, easy reading materials. Afterwards, you move to a bit more difficult material. And at last, very advanced material. Reading is the key. If you read a lot, if you understand the sentence patterns and structures, how sentences are organized, how they are written, what vocabularies are used in which context, and what vocabularies come after what vocabularies. These are the things you will acquire automatically once you develop a reading habit. So develop a reading habit. Your reading habit will tremendously help you. Then after your normal understanding of, as I mentioned, easy reading, you can move to reading passage once. And you can read one passage many times. I tell it to people, hey, don't just read one passage once or twice. Read it 100 times, maybe 50 times, 60 times. Read as many times as possible. Sir, why do you tell people to read one passage many times? Isn't it boring? Yeah, it is boring. But this is how you will progress quickly. Can you recall the moment when you memorized poems when you were in class 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you remember, just recall that you read one poem many times, you memorized them. Or think about the timetable. A timetable means 2 2s are 4, 2 3s are 6, 2 4s are 8, that one. 5 5s are 25, 5 6 are 30. This is called timetable. 1 timetable, 2 timetable, you memorize them. Although timetable is essentially mathematics, but you memorize them. You understood, but you memorized. Why did you memorize? Because memorization is one of the ways we progress, move from one step to another step. If you read one passage 50, 60, 70 times, you don't need to read one passage 50 times at once. Maybe you read it 2 times today, tomorrow again 2 times, the day after tomorrow again 2 times, the day after tomorrow again 5 times, maybe in 20 days, 2 times, 20 times 2 equals 40, then the passages will be read 40 times. Maybe in 50 days, the passages will be read 100 times, and each time you try to understand how the sentences are organized, what cohesive devices are used, why they are used, how many paragraphs are there, which paragraph has which meaning, okay, how they start a write-up and how they end it, when examples are given, how examples are given, do they use the word for example or like, do they use it at the beginning of a sentence or at the end of a sentence. Analyze them, try to understand the word at the same time the spelling. A lot of candidates make these complaints that I have problems with the spelling. When you read a passage, try to understand the words, unknown words, and try to understand and try to memorize the spelling of those words. Then with reading, you are improving not only reading, you are improving a lot of skills. And these are surely your writing skills will become improved. Your writing skills are essentially an output skill. Do you know that? I have told it many times. People think And people are worried about writing, and then they think writing is a different skill. Of course writing is a different skill. Writing is similar to dancing, okay, as speaking is similar to walking. We can walk easily, but dancing requires special skills. Dancing, okay, writing is essentially dancing. But how do you become a good writer? You do become a good writer by listening a lot. I still remember long ago, back in 2010 or 2012 or sometime, once a great writer in our country was asked a question, "Sir, how did you become a great writer?" And the writer answered, "I have read hundreds, thousands of books in my life. I have read 10,000 books in my life. That's why I can write." So writing is essentially an output skill. If you read a lot, trust me, my brothers and sisters, if you read a lot, automatically you will become a good writer. If you become, well, a novelist, how do you become a novelist? You need to read many novels, and also you need to think. Then you can produce a nice novel. So your production capacity, especially your writing capacity, or in other words, entirely contingent upon your reading skills. Of course, listening helps. So listening and reading are mostly or fundamentally your input skills. Writing is essentially an output skill. You will become a good writer once your input is good. You can write Chinese if you have seen how Chinese characters are written. If somebody has showed you, that means you have seen it, which is reading. If you have seen how sentences are organized, that means you're reading. Now you can produce the same sentence structures. So your production ability is an output skill, which depends on your input skills. In other words, your reading skills and your listening skills. So my brothers and sisters, I tell you many times, I have told it many times, I'm telling you it again, read a lot. What shall you read? Read the easy things first, then move on to the more difficult things, and then the most difficult things. And one passage can be read 100 times, maybe 200 times, if possible. Okay, and with regards to reading, I will say another thing, and it is, "Sir, will I only read or will I only solve? Or will I do both?" Of course you will do both, but initially, just if you are taking preparation for 5 months or 6 months, keep 2 months solely dedicated for reading. Just read. Once you have reached a minimum level of understanding, now start solving the questions. Then after a minimum level of understanding is reached, if you start solving and reading, if you do these things simultaneously, if you do these two things simultaneously, you will get maximum benefit. Okay, only reading is not sufficient, because English is a vast language and our one life is not enough to understand everything. Okay, everything of English or English language. We can't possibly understand everything in English language in our one life. It might require thousands of years to understand everything, and no, it's not possible. And IELTS test doesn't have this goal, and our life doesn't require us to know everything of English language. It is impossible and it is not needed. IELTS tests your ability to comprehend the passages you will get once you start studying at a university level or in the university level. The purpose of your IELTS is to go to a foreign country and study at a university, probably in the undergraduate level or in the postgraduate level. You will get books written in English. Will you understand the books you will get? IELTS judges that. IELTS tests that ability. If you have reached the comprehension skills of 6, it is enough for you to understand the passages you will usually get in the books which you will be taught once you reach abroad and start studying. So our job is not to read. Our job is 2 things, reading and also to develop the skills required to solve the questions. IELTS reading has a variety of questions, mostly 8 types: gap fill, true, false, not given, matching names, matching sentence endings, list of headings, locating information, MCQ, short answer questions. These are the questions usually available or which are usually seen in IELTS books, in reading books, or in reading passages. Now, which question is solved using which approach? You need to understand that. One passage includes 800 to 900 vocabularies. Now, in the exam hall, you will get only 1 hour to solve 40 questions, and there are no negative marks. Now, if you read all 3 passages consisting of 800 to 900 words each together they include maybe 2,800 to 2,900 words. That's a huge number. Do you have the time to read them all? Probably you do, but it is better not to read the passages. Rather, when solving, you just read the questions, underline the keywords in the questions, try to locate those words in the passages. This is how you solve. Solving is a different skill. Solving is a different thing. And answering the question requires a range of skills, tips, and probably some tricks. Sometimes you don't need to answer all the questions. Some questions are really very difficult. You can skip those questions so that you can save your time to solve maximum number of questions. As your time is limited, only 1 hour. Now, how shall you spend your time? If, for example, in passage 1, there are 13 questions. You have solved 10 questions. 3 questions are yet to be solved. These 3 questions are requiring a lot of time. Will you keep trying these 3 questions, or will you skip to the next question? So, of course, you need to skip to the next questions, maybe to the next passage. If one question is taking too long, please move on. These are the skills you need to know. So once you reach, or once you have reached a minimum level of understanding, you will start solving and reading. Solving and reading. Do these 2 things simultaneously and you will get maximum benefit. This is what I have said many times, and I am saying it even today. That's the one thing you should do. Reading. Then, sir, what is the another input skill? I have mentioned it. I'm reminding you it again. It is listening. Listen a lot. Sir, what shall I listen? Well, if you are a beginner, I would ask you to listen to very easy things. Sir, what shall I listen? And what are those easy things? I tell people to listen. I tell people to watch Peppa Pig cartoons. Do you know what Peppa Pig cartoons are? Peppa Pig cartoons are British cartoons, and they're very fun. And the language is very easy. You can watch Peppa Pig cartoons, but a lot of students do not want to watch Peppa Pig cartoons because it includes pig. And in our country, people do not like pigs. But you don't need to like pigs. You're just watch the cartoons to understand how the native speakers speak, their accents, their pronunciations, and also to acquire the sentence structures used by native speakers. Your purpose is not to love or loathe the pigs. You can do whatever you want with them, but you will watch this cartoon to understand. Or if you detest Peppa Pig cartoons, you can watch other English cartoons in English. These cartoons probably do not include pigs. So you can watch other cartoons. And I also ask people to download 15 to 20 animation movies. You can download some animation movies. For example, The Lion King, The Lion King 1, 2, Moana. Or if you love fantasy, you can download other fantasy movies, animation movies as well. British movies, preferably. You can watch American movies, no problem with it. If you watch them, and make no mistake, you're going to watch one movie a couple of times, not once. You have watched a movie, an hour-long movie, maybe a 90-minute long movie. You have watched it. Now wait. Watch second movie, third movie. And then in this way, you can complete watching the 10th movie. After that, again, watch the first movie. You watch one movie a couple of times, maybe 30, 40 times, and then what will happen? So what's the point of watching the same movie many times? If you watch the same movies many times, what happens is you acquire the language subconsciously. You can understand the sentences, the dialogues that are told in each event. Well, you understand them, and well, if you have watched the movie Titanic, you even probably have memorized the dialogues. So what's the point of memorizing? Here, I sometimes fail to teach people that memorizing is essentially a very good skill. A very good skill. If you have memorized the structures, now you can change the words and can say it. For example, if you know, if you can make one interrogative sentence, for example, why did Sandy leave Bangladesh? Why did Sandy leave Bangladesh? Now you can change name Sandy, put Mithila here. Why did Mithila leave Bangladesh? Or why did Shagor leave Bangladesh? Then you can change another word and leave. You can change the verb leave and replace it by another word come. Why did Shagor come? Why did Shagor come here? If you know the base structure or the structures, you can add different vocabularies, change the vocabularies, verbs, nouns, okay, adjectives, adverbs, and replicate sentences. You can produce sentences on your own. So memorizing is a very good skill. Memorize, no problem with it. Memorize them. I tell them, sir, will I only watch Peppa Pig cartoons and watch movies? What about my IELTS listening? Of course, IELTS listening is essential and helpful. If you are a curious person and if you have a personality of curiosity, I would suggest you only to listen to Cambridge audio clips. These clips are super because they include posh English, very good English, very smart English. If you listen to them, okay, again and again, or probably many times, then their English, very formal English, very excellent English, will become part of your memory. I tell you, do that. Now, some students make this mistake, and it's a big mistake. What is that mistake? A lot of students, well, practice at home, Cambridge books, maybe from Cambridge 10 to Cambridge 18 or something like that, and at home they get a very good score. In listening, their average score at home is 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5, 6, 7.5, 8.5. On average, they get 8 or 7.5. At home, they get this score, and now they become complacent. They feel, as I am doing consistently well in listening at home, getting 7.5 on average, in the exam hall I will also get 7.5. Why it doesn't happen? Why does it not happen? It's a mistake that candidates make, and I tell people to avoid this mistake. And what mistake do they make, sir? The mistake is very common. They focus on answering the questions. Suppose you have taken test from Cambridge 15, test number 1. You have taken the test today. You have got 20 questions correct. Now you have seen the answer sheet. You have listened again. Now second time you have got 30 questions correct. Maybe one day later you have complete it again. You have completed it again, and now you have got 35 questions correct. Maybe on the fourth day you can get 40 questions correct. Okay, 40 out of 40. But 2 months later, you are taking the same test, Cambridge 15 test 1. You will get 35 questions correct because the answers are somehow in your brain, or well, although the answers are not fully memorized, maybe your fragmented memory can recall them. So what happens is, candidates take the same test many times, not today, every day, maybe 5 days later, 1 week later, maybe 1 month later, but they somehow can remember the answers they have written in past, and at home they consistently do well. But is it really doing well without improving the general understanding of listening? No, it is not. I tell people, yes, you need to improve your answering skills, but at the same time, you need to understand what the speakers say. Many candidates do not do that, and unfortunately got a very sorrow figure in the exam. At home, they get 7, 7.5 in listening, but in the exam hall, they get only 5.5, 6 or 6.5 at best. Why do they do that? Listening is a skill where you should aim to get an 8, 7.5 or something like that. And why don't they get it? They don't get it only because they focus on answering. At home, they can answer really well because the book is the same, the tests are the same, and they take the same test many times. Automatically, the answers are memorized. Maybe they have got a fragmented memory, but the answers are somehow memorized. They can recall something. Then, sir, what should we do? Well, you should do 2 things. One is to develop your answering skills, and at the same time try to understand each word they say, each sentence they say, how they are saying it, why they are saying it, what is the context, and everything. when you complete one listening test, try to understand each sentence, what the first speaker says, the second speaker says, why this sentence. Some sentences will not include any answer, but you will understand those sentences as well. If you feel, well, first two sentences are pachal, unnecessary, it's not going to help you. You need to understand those first two sentences. In the middle of their speech, they have said 30 minutes, 30 seconds, 40 seconds, and no question has been made from that speech. No problem, but you need to understand what they say in the middle. Well, in part 4 is a lecture, and it has a follow. It has got a beginning, it has got a middle, and it has got an ending. You need to understand the flow, how they speak, how they start, how they progress from one position to the next position, and then to the final position. Why some questions, why some clips have, some clips means that some of their speeches have questions and some of their clips have no questions. You need to understand those as well. Try to understand them, but most importantly, try to understand what they say. You need to do that. Understand, comprehension skills are the key. You need to understand what they say. Understand what they say. It will be very helpful for you. Okay, my brothers and sisters. And now the other two things. One is speaking. Speaking, as I mentioned, is a production skill, but you need to practice with somebody. Sir, what shall I practice? Or with whom shall I practice? You can practice whatever you want. Sometimes I tell people the best strategy to improve your speaking is mimicking or shadowing. Okay, what is it? You hear an audio clip, and the moment you hear, okay, you start repeating it by yourself. It is similar to how we have learned our mother tongue, or how we have studied in Maktub, in Madrasa. When Hujur said Alif, we said Alif. The Hujur said Ba, we repeated Ba. Okay, they said Subhana Jin Mulke, we said Subhana Jin Mulke. It's just like repeating after someone. Okay. And when you will play an audio clip from Cambridge essentially, or from another clips you love, or other clips you love, you hear the first word and you repeat it just nanoseconds later. Okay, you do it instantly. You don't wait for the audio or for one sentence to end and say it. No, you just say it instantly. It is better and more efficient. It's a very good strategy to develop your English speaking skills as you are a second learner. It's a very good strategy. You will learn intonation, sentence structures, and then other aspects as well, especially good pronunciation, how stresses are put, okay, and then assimilation as well, how they assimilate words together. You will learn those skills. It's a very good strategy. Another one is it's also a very orthodox method, and it is converting one sentence into 6 types and say them as fast as possible. For example, a sentence you can make with to be verbs, and the sentence is Sandy is cute. Then this is the affirmative part. You make it negative, Sandy isn't cute. Then you make it interrogative, Sandy isn't cute. Is Sandy cute? Then negative interrogative, isn't Sandy cute? Later on you use a WH word, why is Sandy cute? And the last one is WH word and negative interrogative, why isn't Sandy cute? I'm going to give you another example. The example is Mithila is smart. Mithila isn't smart. The second one. Third, is Mithila smart? Fourth, isn't Mithila smart? Why is Mithila smart? And why isn't Mithila smart? This is how you can make many sentences, changing Mithila into, well, Tarzan, and then smart into unsmart or cat or whatever you want to make. No problem. Just make them and say these sentences as many times as possible until you feel that the structures are a part of your deep brain. You can instantly make sentences in any way possible. Then you move to action verbs. For example, Mithila comes. Then you make it negative. Mithila doesn't come. Does Mithila come? Doesn't Mithila come? Why does she come? Why didn't she come? Well, this is very basic. You develop your basic English speaking skills, your fluency, improve your fluency, and remove your inertia, jarota. This is very essential and very helpful. You can practice this Most spoken courses are like that. They will develop your English speaking skills in this way. They will ask you to repeat same sentences many times, make sentences using some common structures, and trust me, it works. Actually, every method is very helpful, provided you are a passionate learner. If you are a passionate learner, any method is appropriate. But if you are not a passionate learner, many teachers are not even enough to make you get a good score in the exam. Passion is 80% of your success. Be passionate, trust me. If you become passionate, methods do not matter. Well, good method is surely important, but your brain is an amazing thing. It always investigate which is the correct path, which is the most efficient path. Your brain will find out which is the most efficient path, if you are improving or not. Your brain will try to find out which methods are better and which methods are less helpful. Your brains will do that, and they do it constantly. 2 tips I have already given. One is mimicking, shadowing. Another is saying same sentences or transforming one sentence into 6 types and then saying them as fast as possible, in using all 12 sentences, all 12 tenses, using a variety of structures, and so on and so on. And a few more things you can do. One is, sir, can I read book sample answers? Since speaking questions are common, can I read a book, Marker's book or someone else's books? Yeah, of course you can read. Sir, can I memorize the answers? Of course you can memorize the answers, but trust me, my brothers and sisters, if you give a memorized response in the exam hall, the teacher will become angry with you. The teacher will try to stop you and give you a next question. If you again give a memorized response, the teacher is not gonna be happy with you. Rather, they might start behaving rudely with you. Why would they do that? Because IELTS speaking test is natural communication, and if you give a memorized response in the exam hall, it's not good. It's not going to help you. The teacher is not there to test your memory, rather your natural communication skill. So be natural. Sir, then what is the answer to my question? Can I memorize answers? Yes, you can memorize. You will memorize to improve your English. But when you start speaking with anyone or take the mock test or in the exam hall, you will give natural responses only. Only natural responses will give you a good score. Memorized response will give you a score, but not more than 4 or something like that. Okay, speaking. So, can you memorize answers? Can you read books? Yes, you can read books. Sir, can I read books for ideas? Yes, you can read books for ideas. Ideas are good. If books include ideas, they're really good. You can do that. I have a book. I have written an amazing book containing answers from Cambridge 9 to Cambridge 19 from part 1, and a lot of answers from part 2, and a lot of answers from part 3. This is an amazing book. You can get my book on my Telegram channel. And the last one is, a few more tips to be given about speaking. One is, sir, can I practice with a partner? Yes, you can. It's a very good strategy. It will develop confidence in you. Practice. You can practice with a partner. Sir, how will I get a partner? If I don't get a partner, okay. If you don't get a partner, what's wrong with it? Okay, there's no point in waiting for a partner. If you don't get a partner, you practice alone. If you get a partner, it's okay. It's good. Sometimes practicing with a partner will help you become confident. Okay, confident. So practice with a partner. You can get partner if you practice using some apps, you may get partner from other South Asian countries or probably from African countries or somewhere like that. You can get a partner. You can practice with a partner. Some people videotape themselves and see where they need more corrections and something like that. And if you can keep good eye contact, your video recording will show if you can give a good eye contact, if you have a smiling face or something like that, blah 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 blah. And at last, writing is essentially, as I mentioned, an output skill. My suggestion is, you don't watch videos on writing available on YouTube. Most of those videos are misguided. They will misguide you, saying writing has these types or that types. They will misguide you. Rather, you can depend on one book. It is called answers, quality sample answers, straight quality sample answers. Now in the age of in the year of artificial intelligence, you can ask ChatGPT to give you a band 7 easy answers. If you can get a band 7 easy answers, or maybe a 6 level answers, okay, and you can write something, show it to ChatGPT, ask the software to correct your mistakes, they will do that. But okay, I tell you, if you want to progress quickly, you read good quality sample answers from the beginning. Good quality sample answers. Again, good quality sample answers from the beginning. If you do that, it's very helpful. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for listening to me.